Welcome to Hockey Night in New York, where Islanders hockey always reigns supreme. Whether you were raised at the barn in Uniondale or born in the stable at Belmont, Hockey Night in New York is your home for all things Isles. Now, let's drop the puck and get this party started.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is Hockey Night in New York. Welcome to the program, everyone. It is Sunday, November 23rd, 2025. Coming at you live from Bagel Boss in Hewlett. Happy to be here. Going to set you up for Islanders versus Kraken. We got Mr. Thomas Hickey joining us from MSG Network on the phone a little bit later. My name is Sean Cuthbert. Hanging with me today is Mr. Arthur Staple, Jake the Snake Radonis, and of course Edzo here on the board. Welcome to the program, fellas. How we doing?
Doing great. How we doing, Sean?
We're doing well. What a wonderful afternoon here at Bagel Boss in Hewlett. Excited to get the show going here, but before we do, want to remind you all about our fantastic sponsors, starting with Knock Hockey. Big Black Friday sale coming up here at knockhockey.com. 20% off all Knock Hockey boards from Wednesday, November 26th through Monday, December 1st. Get your board at knockhockey.com. Also proud to be sponsored by Razor, Kniff, and Lonstein, attorneys at law, ready to fight for you. Check them out at razorandkniff.com. That is RAISERANDKENNIFF.com for a free consultation. And folks, if you're hanging out with us live in the chat on YouTube and you want to get your questions in for Questions Brewing, just type in that question after Questions Brewing and we'll get to it later in the show. So with the pleasantries out of the way, let's get this thing started. Arthur, 6-1 road trip, buddy. Pretty damn good for the New York Islanders. They had a rough one yesterday, but we'll get to that later. But let's talk about these games. Very impressive. You and I were very cautious about this road trip. We were wondering if it was going to make or break the season for this team. We'll see if it made them, but it definitely didn't break them.
It definitely did not. And the irony of all ironies is that maybe the game that they played that was the best from start to finish was the one they lost in Colorado,
for sure.
A place where it's impossible to win. So you have to love what they did. Obviously, starting it off with beating the two locals on the road, it's a good feeling to get out on a plane. And the way that they scraped out those wins in Vegas and Utah, you saw a lot of heart, a lot of grit. We certainly talked about it, that old Islander winning DNA, just get 2 points no matter how you can get it. And really, winning in Dallas, the wild finish, Patrick Waugh getting into it with Mikko Rantanen. Some of those, I think there were just elements in each stop where you just like, I love to see this. I love what they're doing. And then really, probably the best performance when they beat the Red Wings in Detroit to cap it off. Very impressive way to finish that last one back in the time zone, all the different time zones.
Right.
Yes, yesterday was a little bit rough. I think it would have been rough no matter what, but you have to love that road trip and you have to love what you've seen, other than yesterday, 12-4-2 in their last 18. Only the Avs have been better since that 0-3 start. This team might be for real, and I think they certainly showed it in some tough spots.
Yeah, I'm going to ask Mr. Hickey later if the team is indeed for real, but I think one thing to note, not just the winning, but they're fun to watch. This is enjoyable hockey.
This is a different Islander team. I know that kind of the punditry of the NHL wants to still think that this is 2018-19 and that the Islanders are still, they're going to grind it out. I'm going to be bored watching this. A lot of low-event hockey, just defense. This is a different Islander team. They're exciting to watch. They win in exciting ways. Even if they'd managed to get that tying goal yesterday, that was kind of a boring game. But the way that they played that third period, that's a team that says, we're going to win no matter what, even when we don't have our best. So winning the ways that they did on the road again in all different places and all different varieties of victory. It's exciting. It's an exciting time to be an Islander fan.
Yeah, no question. Let's dive in a little closer here. We'll go back to Sunday against the Avalanche. As you kind of noted, the score was definitely worse than it looked. This was a tight game to the end. They just couldn't get that second goal.
Yeah, I mean, it was quite literally a 2 or 3 minute turnaround where they played a fantastic first period.
Yeah,
they're up a goal. And the Avs can get you, and it wasn't even the McKinnons and the Nietzsches and the Makars that really got them. They're such a deep team. You look at that squad, if you're looking for keeping an eye on Brock Nelson, who kind of got that late one, I'm sure he felt good about that. That it wasn't the deciding goal against his old buddies, who I'm sure he had dinner with the night before. But that Brock Nelson, he came into that game, I think, with 8 or 9 points. He's playing major minutes, and you're like, wow, what's going on? It's just like, this is a team that can get you from 1 to 12. Their forwards, a lot of their D. They've got some really good young guys all over the place. And the fact that Mackenzie Blackwood has barely played, and I don't think he's even played at all this year. Scott Wedgwood, journeyman, has really been holding the fort for them, and Wedgwood was fantastic in that game.
Oh, yeah.
Especially on the power play. That one save he made on Kyle Palmieri. We can talk more about the Islanders' power play. The numbers aren't good, but boy, are they getting a lot of chances and generating
100%.
a ton, which is very different than it's been. I know the numbers need to be better.
Right.
But that game, probably deserved to win, and I think you'll take the loss in a place where nobody wins to go with the sandwich between those other 6 victories. So that was a tough one, but I think they rebounded well from it.
Yeah, and I guess most importantly, what does it say about this team that they were able to hang with the Colorado Avalanche in Colorado?
Yeah. I mean, this is again, they proved they may not carry it over. It may not be a 120-point season, but they proved that they can win, they can beat anybody, and that they can compete with anybody. They can score on anybody. That's not really the Islanders we've seen the last couple of years. I think they face a team like that that's really good 1 through 18, and you say, okay, we need to play a certain way, but they played their style. They got a lead, they gave it up, they pushed back, got some power plays late. We have to adjust our thinking about this Islanders team compared to recent years.
Yeah, and that's not such a bad thing for sure.
No.
Moving on to Tuesday against Dallas, another tough test here. Islanders come out with a win, a wild third period, a wild second half to that third period. Richie gets his first goal as an Islander. That was nice to see. But let's talk about that third period, particularly Mikko Rantanen. You see that hit there. Obviously no good. Romanov is hurt now. It seems like it's going to be for a long time. And Patrick Waugh was not happy about it.
No. And I understand why he wasn't suspended or fined. I get it. Like, Scott Mayfield did sort of impede him, but I think hockey players, and that's why Patrick Roy reacted the way that he did. I'm sure even when he watched it again, he would react the same way. Hockey players know what's reckless. They know what guys who are super skilled like Rantanen can do.
Yeah.
Rantanen wasn't going in there to stop. He was going in there to try to cause some chaos, separate Romanov from the puck, and he kind of just went at it in a way that, he's not a big hitting guy. I mean, he's not going to beat the allegations of being a dirty player by Islander fans with what he did to Matt Coronado, Long Island native, the other night, and he is definitely getting suspended for that
change.
One. But that was I think it was reckless. It wasn't intent to injure. It wasn't anything like that. But I think it was the way that he went about it is a way that I think hockey players know. You don't try to go in and make a hit like that. Try to get a guy off a puck late. And I think Patrick Waugh, being Patrick Waugh, we haven't seen it a whole lot from him, but boy, was it welcome in that moment. And I think when we can ask Thomas about this too, what it feels like on the bench when your coach has your back like that and is the one that's instigating these things where everyone on the bench is like, we got to stay calm. That guy, we don't really want to react to this guy. And your coach is behind you saying, you better watch your back when you come to our building.
You already had the date
months.
circled.
I know. That was good job. It's a good job in the moment by Patrick Waugh.
I got to be honest. I've been waiting ever since the guy came over for something like that. So I was thoroughly entertained. You hate what happened to Romanov, of course, but it was nice to see some fire from
Definitely.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Thursday, Detroit. Didn't think it was going to go similarly to the first time, but the Islanders proved me wrong. Another +5, except this time they shut them out. Sorokin had himself a game, and it looks like the Islanders own them right now.
Yeah, and again, that fourth line, kind of a hodgepodge line with Cal Ritchie. You might say, geez, I don't really want to see him on that fourth line getting those kinds of minutes. But I think they've got something there with him, Casey Zizekas, and we've talked about Casey a lot, and maybe we'll talk about him a little bit more. But I think he understands too, as they get healthier, his place in the lineup is not automatic, and he's got to come through. He did certainly when Bo Horvat got his double minor against Dallas, and then got a 10-minute misconduct for arguing. Casey goes out in his spot, killing the penalty, helps break up the play at the line. Kyle Palmieri with the key shorthanded goal that ended up being the winner in Dallas, and Casey carried it over in Detroit, playing with Shabunov, playing with Ritchie, two guys that think offense. Casey was right in there with him with 3 assists, 2 and 2 for Shabunov, and that fantastic highlight reel goal to make it 5-0.
Yes.
And Cal Ritchie with another one. You get that fourth line. It's obviously not the identity line, but it's a line that can add offense. And I think we've seen the middle two lines go a little bit dry lately, so you got to get it from somewhere, and it was great to see it from those guys.
Yeah, and like you said, maybe it's not a traditional fourth line, but if you can have another threat there like that when you have guys coming together. Now, it was a little different yesterday, But it looked good against Detroit. Maybe they bring that back. Maybe we see if they can find some more fire there. But nice to see Richie going, and obviously great to see Shabanoff coming back and getting going as well.
Yeah. I think he's, that's a tough spot for a guy who's coming over, playing his first few games in the NHL, gets hurt. It's a little bit more serious than they let on maybe at first. Misses a lot of time, and the time that he misses is when the Islanders are starting to form their identity too. So
right.
You're not going to push your way back into the top 6. He comes back in this role where, you might get 9 or 10 minutes. He doesn't kill penalties, not really heavily involved in that second power play unit. And you got to make the most of what you get. And he certainly did. I mean, the first goal, John Gibson should stop that, but whatever. And the second goal,
right.
Man, that's got to be on ESPN's highlight reel for sure.
At least the Ocho. At least the Ocho.
And it's good to see confidence-wise, too, for him.
Yeah, no doubt. Sorokin gets his second shot of the season. Nice little bookend on the road trip. 5-0 shot of the Rangers, 5-0 shot of the Wings. And this team has some confidence and swagger.
Yeah, it's great to see. Again, this is not your, I guess, our decade-old Islanders, not Barry
your
Trotz's
fathers
Islanders.
Or your grandfathers.
Right, not Lou's Isles, not Barry Trotz's Islanders. This is a whole different thing.
All right, so let's wrap it up with yesterday. Of course, the letdown game here. St. Louis comes in not having the greatest of seasons, but as you noted before we got started here, a little bit of a boring one here. St. Louis goes up, of course, on the first shift of the game, first shot of the game, essentially.
Yep.
And the Islanders are playing chase for a long, long time. They finally connect late in the game. We think that they connect on the second one to tie it up. And I kind of felt like it was coming just because of how well they've been playing. I was like, I think they're going to get the second one here. And magically things are working out well when they pull the goalie now.
That's right.
Changed
That's
as
what
well.
Good teams do. They
Right.
score 6 on 5.
So I was like, I think they can do it. It goes in the net. Of course, you have that scuffle in front. Palmieri ends up hitting Bennington there, but we see that he gets pushed in. What was your thoughts on that?
I threw it out on Twitter, and I got a 100% response rate of, no, you don't challenge that. And I feel like the puck is in the net. There's 2 minutes left.
Yeah.
I understand you have to waste a challenge, but you're going into a power play, so the worst case scenario is you're playing 4-on-4 if you get it wrong. To me, if the puck is in the net that late, you take your shot because maybe they see something. I kind of felt like live speed, no chance that's going to be overturned. But when I watch the replay, I understand Palmieri goes into the blue paint, but he's starting to get out. He bumps with Falk. That bumps him into Binnington. And more importantly, the result, the play is a goal no matter what, because it goes off of Falk's skate. The shot is going nowhere near the net. So, even if it's a 2% chance, to me, you got to gamble on that because it's so late in the game. And again, the worst case scenario is you're playing 4-on-4 the rest of the way, and you can pull your goalie and it's 5-on-4 and you got a little more room to operate. Blues can't just ice the puck as they did when they were playing 4-on-6.
Right.
And it has nothing to do with how much the power play has been struggling results-wise. To me, it's just, it's worth the gamble. You kind of, it's like sitting at a poker table. You're calculating the odds of what am I going to do here? And the odds are not in your favor to get that overturned, but it's worth a gamble where you are in the game there.
Yeah, I think you make a good point, especially with the penalties on the board anyway, right? I get that. And, I said this to you before as well. Watching it play out live, I was like, okay, I get it. But then I watched the replay back, and I was like, yeah, you know what? There might be a case here. He was definitely pushed.
Yeah.
But as we all seem to know, I still don't know what goalie interference is. I have no idea what goalie interference is. Still.
If you go, we didn't even talk about the 0.1/10 of a second left in Dallas when they had that goal that stood up. And again, if you're an Islander fan of a certain vintage, maybe you think, okay, they're just going to allow it because it's us.
Yes.
Which certainly flashed through my mind when I saw it. But I think if you go into the blue paint unimpeded by yourself, which Jason Robertson did, so that one was called off, and what Palmieri did, I think what happens after that has to be an egregious push into the goalie, or you get out of the blue paint before you make contact. I think once you're in there by yourself, which Palmieri did, they're not really looking to overturn it. Again, if you've even got a 1 or 2% chance, I think you take it, but probably would not have been overturned.
Yeah, I'm with you there. All right, Arthur. Well, before we break for Thomas Hickey, vibes are good after the road trip. A little bit of a letdown yesterday, but tell us where you took your anthem.
Well, again, we're talking about how the league perceives the Islanders.
Sure.
Oh, it's definitely one way. When they're good, everyone thinks they're boring. This is not a boring team.
Right.
So I went with a Canadian band that I really like called the OPGMs. They've got a song called Changes.
Okay.
And I think the league has to start changing the way they think and talk about these Islanders. They've got the most exciting young player in Matthew Schaefer. We've got Bo Horvat, who's maybe playing his way into the Canadian Olympic team. The pundits don't really give the Islanders much of a time of day because they're not that exciting. They are exciting. Everybody pay attention. change the way you think.
You heard it. Arthur Staples said the New York Islanders are exciting. And buddy, you're expanding my musical library here. I've never heard of these guys.
You're going to like these guys.
I'm looking forward to it. All right, folks, thanks so much for tuning in to Hockey Night in New York. We're going to take a break. When we come back on the other side, Thomas Hickey of MSG Network will be joining us.
Knock Hockey Black Friday. That's right, we're doing 20% off of Knock Hockey if you go to knockhockey.com. That's N-O-K hockey.com. We'll take 20% off your Knock Hockey order automatically. This happens once a year. You get the deal. You buy it for your kids, or your nieces or nephews, or yourself. It is a great holiday gift. The family enjoys playing it. Go to knockhockey.com, N-O-K hockey.com for 20% off this Black Friday.
Attention all artists, storytellers, and creators of all kinds. It's time to make your content stand out above the rest. And Floored Media is the place to make your visions become a reality. Maybe you want to elevate your podcast and add some video, or turn that novel you wrote into an audiobook. Or maybe you just need the right space to produce your daily vlog. Whether you're a seasoned veteran or just starting out, Floored Media has the professional facilities, exceptional staff, and intimate atmosphere to breathe life into your creative passions at every step of the process.
Thanks for giving some time to our sponsors. Ready to talk more Isles? The train rolls on right here on Hockey Night in New York.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. The train rolls on here at Bagel Boss in Hewlett for On the Line, presented by Razor, Kniff, and Launstein. And joining us on the line right now from MSG Network is Mr. Thomas Hickey. Thomas, great to have you back, man. How you been?
I'm great, guys. I'm just heading to the game, actually. So, yeah, a real treat, I think, not just for me, but for all Isles fans. It's been fun watching the team on the road, but get a nice back-to-back to welcome them back to Long Island.
Yes, no doubt. And let's talk about that road trip. 6-1. The guys look great. Big wins. Vibes are high despite the loss yesterday. But watching those games, and especially against the competition that they had, what clicked for this team? Why are they looking so good?
You know what? They were in every game, and they found a way to win. And I think that was like my overarching takeaway from the whole trip, even if you include, the game against New Jersey and the game against the Rangers. Yeah, more structure, definitely more structure. Like they look more composed in their defensive zone and closing plays quicker. And that's what Patrick was had in mind, is he sort of tried to get them to tighten things up. So it looked like that was coming together, but there was just an emotion to the team that I think it's tough to really bottle that and get that at a time like November. But you sort of saw after the goals and the celebrations, like it was a really emotional team, but not like a a temperamental group that rode the highs and lows. It was a group that was extremely emotional, but they come up at the big moments, and it was different people every single night. And I think that's what it sort of takes for this group to be where they are right now. They've got to have sort of that recipe and that energy in their game, and it was a whole lot of fun to watch.
No question. And despite the bump along the road yesterday, I guess the question now is this team for real? And has it changed your outlook on their season at all for you?
No, it hasn't really changed the outlook because,
Okay.
I think the important thing, whenever there's a hot streak in the league, look around the league, pick a team, and just go through their season, and you're going to see times, especially in the Eastern Conference, when there's a lot of people going, uh-oh, it's not our year. Like, we got to rethink our plan. What's going on here?
Yeah.
And then there's a hot streak, and it's like, oh, well, actually, we're in really good shape. And the Islanders have gone through that. They're not immune to that at all. And they're playing a great stretch of hockey. And don't get me wrong. If they play like that, like they did on the road trip, every single game, does it change my outlook? Yeah. If they played like that, I mean, they're going to finish comfortably in a top 3 spot in the Metropolitan Division. But there's going to be lulls, and there's going to be downtimes too. And you can't expect that level all year. At least I don't think you can. Maybe if you go through this 7-game homestand and you have a similar type result, then you can change your outlook. But, coming into the season, I looked at them as a group that, would be right around that wild card spot, whether, they were just above it and come March time, or they were just below it. Doesn't really change the fact that I think that this team can compete for a playoff spot, and I still do, but it's just tough to maintain a level. So, for my job, I just try not to get too caught up in the present and just sort of try to have a little bit of a longer outlook. But I can't, I'm not trying to downplay anything. It was fun to see this group play at a level that they haven't come to in a couple years. So that gives you lots of optimism, and they've earned that right to maybe be thought of in a higher regard than myself or anyone else maybe thought they would coming into the season.
Thomas, I imagine that a lot of the excitement when you hear it, whether you're with the network or doing your stuff on Amazon in Canada, is Matthew Schaefer. What do you make of him, and just what kind of excitement can that lend to a group when you have a young guy like that come in? I think, people maybe think, could be a little jealousy if he's getting big minutes or whatever, but is this just as positive on the inside that you've seen as we can see it from the outside?
Yeah, I think it is. I don't think there's any jealousy because, if you want to talk about the number one factor why the Islanders are where they are, it's this kid. Like, I know there was great additions, right? Heineman, Drouin, those guys have fit in really well, but I think that this kid has changed the personality of this hockey team. I think I'm not saying he's like Patrick Waugh at all. I think there's a mesh there of like the energy Patrick has, and then the energy that this kid brings. And I think you've got a more confident group. You've got guys honestly learning from the way he plays the game, which is so unique, and it's breathed a new life and energy into the group. I'm not drawing parallels at all, but the Washington Capitals last year, the excitement around the chase for Alexander Ovechkin, that whole team played with an excitement that they didn't have in years prior. Even though they made the playoffs the year prior, looked completely different on a night-to-night basis because there's an extra energy. And I think Schaefer's brought that to them. But him in general, I look at him and, I think league-wide, Islanders fans can see it. But league-wide, when I look at a guy like the conversation around him, it's completely different what people are talking about and what I'm seeing, what I'm impressed about, because there's so many little details and things that he's so far ahead of his peers in the NHL, or especially any young defenseman, things that he's just picked up naturally and does so well, as good as many veteran NHL defensemen, that it just doesn't really make sense that you can do those things well as a teenager, as an 18-year-old defenseman, and he's making it look so easy. So as much as it's the highlight reel plays, the stuff that everyone else in the league sees, because it's like, oh my God, did you see what the kid did? On a night-to-night basis, there's like dozens of parts of his game that it's just like, I can't believe these, as much as I can't believe his skill and ability to skate and the things he's doing with the puck.
Yeah, and not only that, Thomas, but also just the young man that he is. Like, everything is unbelievable. I think I said it like in the beginning of the season. When I grow up, I want to be like Matthew Schaefer. He's just been incredible. But to keep it on the youth here, Callum Ritchie, he's slowly starting to emerge with the team. He started putting up some points on this road trip. Anything exciting about him for you?
Yeah, a lot. Honestly, I think when you see a young guy and you see, you watch them every game, and then you see how their game changes when they're clearly confident, that's when you start to go, okay, wow, I see what everyone else is talking about. I can see why this was a coveted prospect when the Islanders made the Brock Nelson trade. That's what I'm noticing with him. So it was that spurt on the road trip where you saw a guy with confidence and you saw a different player. So sorry, I'm just coming and scanning my parking pass, guys. Sorry about the pause.
Nice.
So with Matthew Schaefer, with Callum Ritchie, that's what stands out to me right now is, wow, when he's confident, you can see just how good he's going to be. But at the same time, I talked with Patrick Waugh on that road trip about Ritchie, and he thinks so highly of him. I think a lot of people are like, okay, well, you've got him down in this fourth line role, and clearly that fourth line looks a lot different now than it did a few weeks ago. But I think they've done a really good job at handling Callum Ritchie, and that's probably both the coaching staff and Matthew Darsh, where they haven't overloaded him or put too much on his plate. When you look at his minutes, like he played a lot his first couple games of the year, and then they were like, you know what, let's take a bunch off your plate and just help you understand the NHL, and you trust that he's going to find confidence at times, and then that skill's going to come out, but he's going to learn how to play in the NHL, and he's going to learn what parts of the game are really difficult, and really just have to focus and do a good job at those before he's really catching our eye. But I've really enjoyed Richie's game. I think his ability to handle the puck with his head up is one of the things that you just think every NHL player does, but it's not the case. He does it at an extremely high level, and he's got a power play skill set too that really impresses me. Much like Schaefer, in the sense that it's not glitzy and glamoury when he's on the half wall or Schaefer's up top. It's just like a really efficient way and a really good understanding of finding open areas. And that's an area as he moves forward as an Islander. I think he's going to have a lot of points. He's going to make a lot of plays. He's going to impress a lot of people with that ability because he's always got his head up.
Thomas, you mentioned about Patrick Waugh, and we saw some vintage Patrick Waugh after the Mikko Rantanen hit on Alex Romanov out in Dallas. But Patrick Waugh, the team is clearly playing the way that he wants to, and maybe there was some skepticism. I know I had it, that could this group play that way, play that up-tempo, offense-first, attacking style? What have you seen that's allowed them to kind of be successful in what and how Waugh wants them to play?
Yeah, there's more freedom in their game, and I wondered the same thing, Arthur, coming into the season. But it's a whole new regime, so I think that's just sort of, I don't want to say it frees everyone up. I think that would be disrespectful, but maybe a different feeling around everybody. And there's also part of it that I think I've got to look at Patrick and go, okay, well, he's clearly the pedigree of one of the greatest goalies, if not the greatest of all time. So he's a smart guy, and I think he adapts. And I think that's a bit of what we're seeing, but the roster is different as well. And the changes that I'm talking about are the speed that's been infused into it. And I think if you want to play an up-tempo game, well, it certainly helps when you have a guy with, the fast steps of Drouin and Heineman and a game changer on the back end. And, part of it's roster, and I think part of it's Patrick adapting. And with all that said, I give him, full marks here at the quarter point of the season. They're still giving up a lot of chances. And I mentioned on the road trip, their D zone looked a lot better, looked a lot more controlled, looked like everyone had a much better grasp and understanding. And that will be, the biggest challenge as they move into the second quarter and, into the second half of the season, is making sure that although that they're a high flying team right now, that they sort of make sure that they continue to improve defensively. But I guess in summary, I think Patrick's adapted nicely, and I think he's got players on his roster that sort of fit that mold better than they did probably in the years prior.
Yeah, Thomas, and speaking of changes, we've seen plenty of change now with the special teams, where the penalty kill has really turned it around, 10th overall in the league. And I'd say the same for the power play. I think it looks much better. In fact, Arthur touched on that earlier in the show. But what have you seen out of the special teams here, where maybe they're not necessarily getting the results in the power play, but I think overall they just look a lot better, eh?
They really do, Sean. And what's funny is, it's like, I always say this to, I used to say it about plus minus. You talk about analytics, and like, if I was having a season where I was near the top of the team in plus minus, like, you can sort of rest your hat on that. And then at times when you're like, I feel like I'm playing good, but I'm on the bottom half of the team in plus minus, I'm like, oh, that's a stupid stat. Well,
Right,
the same
of
things
course.
you can sort of say, you can say the same thing about analytics, right? And the analytics show us that this is a team that's generating, and the expected numbers are much greater than what the overall percentage is, and how often they capitalize with the man advantage. And I'm talking about the power play specifically. I think it's fair to look at those things, because you look at the eye test, and my eye test tells me that this power play is pretty good. They're generating chances, they're moving pucks around, and you don't get a power play and sort of hold your breath and say, let's hope that this one doesn't zap or kill their momentum. That hasn't been the case this year. I think Ray Bennett coming in has done a great job, and they look like a completely different group. Their entries, especially at the start of the year, were much better, and they've got different looks, and guys are in different positions. So sometimes a little improv helps when you do have good pieces there to maybe not be stagnant and try and do the same thing all over. And the penalty kill on the other spectrum of that, I mean, the proof is in the numbers, how much better they've been and how much more efficient they've been at killing penalties. But you guys probably said it all of last year, much as I did. If you get mediocre special teams and end up somewhere in the middle when you add those numbers of power play and penalty kill together, you can be a playoff team. And that's not the difference this year because there's many differences, but that's one of those big factors that special teams are much improved. There's no question in my mind.
All right. Well, speaking of the playoffs, I don't know if I've ever seen a standings so tight, especially in the East here, where, I mean, you have a good week, you can vault to the top. You have a bad week, and you're in the basement or near it. Have you ever seen anything like that? And does this open a door for the Islanders to potentially get into the postseason?
Without a question, it does. I think there's a lot of teams around that I look at and I'm like, I don't know what they are. Like, and it's, you look at the standings and, like, no disrespect to the teams that have kept pace and been really good this year, but there's teams that I see them play and I go, okay, I don't really understand how they are where they are in the standings, and I expect them to drop off, but the parity is just incredible. And then you get teams down below, like the Florida Panthers and Washington Capitals, and Montreal at one point was leading the conference. Now they're outside of the playoff picture. I think it's going to be a seesaw all the way, and eventually it will separate like it always does, but usually there's like 4 teams that drop off. This year, when I look at the Eastern Conference, I'm like, I don't know, maybe there's going to be like 1 or 2 teams that drop off and everyone else is going to be in the race. So I think for the Islanders, that's what you want to see. I mean, you're going to have a chance, even if you go through some rough stretches, which are inevitable. They've done a good job at banking points, and I think they're going to be right there till the finish, or at least until we get to after that Olympic break. I can't imagine it looking this tight at that point, but I look at these teams and I'm like, I don't know, when's it going to separate?
Yeah, it's exciting stuff. But Thomas, we know you got to get to work there over UBS Arena. So thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it, and looking forward to talking to you again soon.
My pleasure, guys. Enjoy the game today.
All right, Thomas, take care. All right, folks, that was the great Thomas Hickey, former New York Islander, and of course now of MSG Network. Always a great spot from him. And yeah, Arthur, margin for error, very slim.
Yeah, or you could say kind of wide, because you could stumble a bit. You could stumble a bit coming out. They go 6-1. There's no separation, but also, there's such a glut of teams that even if you lose 3 or 4 in a row, how far will you fall? Can you guarantee that all those teams that are down there in between 10th and 16th, they're not all going to win at the same time? They all play each other a lot. So I think you've got a little bit of a cushion too. I just have to look at the Devils, who really are in a bad spot, but they banked so many points. They haven't fallen out of one of those top 2 spots yet. Obviously, it's still early. Right. But I think that's the cushion you give yourself when you can win 6 or 7 or 8 in a row early on. That there's so many teams. The bottom hasn't dropped out. Nobody's going to sell off any of their good guys yet. So you give yourself a little bit of a cushion too, I think, when the standings look this funky.
All right, glass half full. I like it. All right, great stuff. Well, that's going to do it for On the Line, presented by Razor, Kniff and Lonstein, attorneys at law, ready to fight for your good name when it's on the line. All right, folks, we're going to take one more break. You've been watching Hockey Night New York. When we come back, we're going to What's on Tap.
When in need of representation, it's not always easy to know where to turn. But whether you've been accused of a crime or need to go to court, Razor, Kniff and Lonstein, attorneys at law, have you covered with over 100 years of combined experience. With offices in Manhattan, Mineola, and Suffolk, Razor, Kniff and Lonstein is an award-winning law firm specializing in criminal defense with additional expertise in business debt settlement, trust and estates, personal injury, and more. At Razor, Kniff and Lonstein, you'll have direct access to your attorney 24/7. Because more attentive service translates to better outcomes. You deserve legal representatives with national recognition and a strong track record of delivering results. And Razor, Kniff and Lonstein are ready to fight for you. Call 212-LAW-1500 or go to razorandkniff.com to schedule a free, no-risk consultation today. That's RAISERANDKENNIFF.com. Razor, Kniff, and Lonstein. We win cases because we make your problems our problems.
Hey there, welcome back. We missed you too. Now kick up your feet and settle back in to Hockey Night in New York.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed your break, but it's time to get back to Hockey Night New York because it's time for what's on tap. Let's dive into it. Not only are we getting you ready for Islanders versus Kraken, Lane Lambert's Kraken, but there's some more games on the docket as well. But let's start today, 5 p.m. puck drop. Two early games over the weekend, back-to-back here for the Islanders. A little rare, but Lane Lambert comes back into town. Team's been playing pretty well. Won 3 of their last 4. Arthur, what do you see here?
Yeah, they've been good. I think Lane's got them
4 of the last 5.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, they did win yesterday
sorry.
too. Lane's got them playing pretty well. They're not filled with talent necessarily, but I think he's got that DNA, that old, when he was working with Barry Trotz in the 18-19 season with the Islanders. That's kind of the us against the world. They had a couple bad years. He comes in. I think he's got them playing the style of a Barry Trotzian style, shall we say?
Sure.
Where they are playing bigger than their individual talent level, getting some decent goaltending. And I don't think people are going to recognize a ton of names outside of their captain, former Islander Jordan Eberle, and a few other guys. But yeah, they play hard, and we always kind of felt like the West was a little tougher than the East, but they've been hanging around in the top 3 in that Pacific Division for a while now. I think they dropped out a bit, but I think this winning streak's brought them back. And I think with teams like Edmonton struggling, LA hasn't been high level. Vegas has had a few struggles too. They're doing more than hanging around. They're a good little team.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. And what I wanted to ask you was, what did you think of Waz's decision to go with Sorokin yesterday and have Riddick play today rather than swap that around?
I don't know that you can quibble with either one. I think you get off the plane. I think you probably know that is going to be a difficult game. So you probably want your number 1 goalie who's been playing really well to be in there.
Okay.
Unfortunate that he gave up the goal in the first shot. That was a hell of a shot by Brayden Shen.
Yeah.
But I thought he played pretty well, and I think that's really all you're thinking. It's whatever the analytics say about goalies and rest. I get it. It's going to be a difficult spot for anybody, but I think the thinking is for sure that's going to be a tough game for the team in general. You're playing a team that doesn't score a lot. It's coming in. It's not been a very good team. Coming home for the first time. Everybody just slept in their own beds for the first time in a couple of weeks.
Sure, yeah.
It's a slog. So you put your best goalie in there. I think. Okay. The fact that they can have a quick turnaround today, good for the rest of the team that didn't show up for the first 2 periods very well. And also you've got a fresh David Riddick who last played in Dallas and has been playing quite well as the backup. So I think I don't think it's a big drop off. I just think that's probably the reasoning there.
Okay, good to know. That's what I wanted to know.
There you go.
Great answer. All right, moving on to Wednesday. Boston Bruins come to town. A rare 7 p.m. start for this season. They've been doing a lot of 7:30, but the Bruins have had the Islanders' number so far this year. And this is another team who's kind of surprised. I think a lot of us thought they were going to be towards the bottom of the standings. But they're playing well, and we'll see if the Islanders can finally get revenge here.
Yeah. That's a team that I think when Thomas was talking about looking at some teams that maybe are going to drop off, I think that's one. He wasn't going to say because he's a diplomatic guy, but I think the Bruins are definitely one of those teams that people are kind of looking at the standings and saying, are they there because they're playing well, or are they there because some of the teams that we expect to be up there are not playing well?
Yeah.
And I think it's a little bit of both. Charlie McAvoy being out indefinitely hurts them a lot. They're getting some really good offense from guys like Morgan Geekie, tied for the league in goals.
Yeah.
David Pastrnak is David Pastrnak, but it's not a great lineup. And I think having this game on home ice in the middle of this homestand, I think the Islanders need to put their best foot forward. Today is probably going to be a bit more of a slog, a lot like what we saw yesterday. When they get to next week and you're playing some conference and divisional rivals, you got to go back to the style that's made them successful. So I'd like to see them put up a few goals on the Bruins and kind of take charge from the opening puck. They're up there.
I would also like to see that. We'll see if that happens. Moving on to Friday, Black Friday, 4 p.m. start. The Philadelphia Flyers come to town. Yet another team who's probably playing better than expected so far into the season. They won their last 2. Let's see what else we got here. 3 goals in 26 seconds last night against the New Jersey Devils. That was something else. And Trevor Zegras is having himself a year, 21 points in 20 games. So this is another test for the Islanders.
Yep. I mean, you get into these divisional games in a Thanksgiving, that Thanksgiving Christmas window. These are difficult games, and it's, they've obviously had the game where they lost in the shootout in Philly where they blew the 2-goal lead.
Yes.
So you've seen these teams at least once. You know what to expect now. Philly's maybe a little bit like Boston, playing a little bit of punching above their weight so far this year.
Yep.
But if this is the stretch where if the Islanders are going to build on what they did on the road against teams mostly not in their division, not in their conference that you don't see very much, you got to be able to do that against the teams you see 3 and 4 times a year. So another big one, especially in that Black Friday. Islanders have always been kind of on the road, like going to Ottawa, going to Philly for that game. It's nice to have this little stretch at home around the holidays where you can get some fans in the building that are home for vacation, kids home from college, whatever it is. They had a great crowd yesterday. I'd like to see them keep it going.
Yes, we shall see. And moving on to round out the week, Sunday, November 30th, the Washington Capitals. That's a 1 p.m. start. We'll have your postgame later that night from Floored Media in Rockville Center.
Great spot.
Yes, no question about it. Now, the Capitals have slid down the standings a bit since the last time they met the Islanders here, but they have won the three of their last 4, and Tom Wilson leading the charge over there.
He's a good player. I'd hate to think it's going to come down, different positions, but Tom Wilson versus Bo Horvat for one of those last Canadian Olympic spots. And we'll talk about that more when they announce the teams in a couple of weeks. But we've been talking about Bo Horvat. There's even talk of whether Matthew Schaefer might earn an 8th defenseman spot on that Canadian Olympic team, which would be a wild thing to think about where he was at the beginning of the year. But yeah, Tom Wilson, for my money, you certainly hate him, but if he was on your team, you'd love him. He's a guy who always had this kind of skill. Didn't really let it out in his goon years, and he's still doing a little bit of that stuff. I think he had a little incident in Montreal last week where he threw a pretty high hit, and but yeah, I think Washington, kind of like Thomas was saying earlier in the show, how they fed off the Ovechkin chase last year, and Ovi's having a great run again this year. He's already up to 10 goals, I think. But I think they're trying to find their level a little bit. It's definitely tough when you win one, lose one. You got to get on a little bit of streak to separate yourself here. And again, it's another winnable, another 2-point possibility for the Islanders in the division. That's the way you can start to separate yourself. You beat Philly, you beat Washington. All of a sudden, you see some of those teams start to drop off a bit. You start to rise up a little bit, and then you say, instead of saying like, "Oh gosh, if we lose 2 in a row, we'll be back below the playoff cut line." You win those 4-point games, and all of a sudden you say, all right, we got a 4-6-point cushion here going into December. That's a good place to be.
Yeah, and you look at this 7-game road trip, and these are games coming up where they can bag some points, like you said, because the latter end of the trip is a little more dicey with Colorado coming to town. So this is something you want to see them, get some points against teams who are competitive, but not necessarily the cream of the crop.
Exactly, and we keep saying it. There's no one in the East that scares you, so you want to play as a lot of those teams now, and nobody's playing at a high level. No
doubt about it. So that's going to do it for What's on Tap. Now it's time to talk about heroics. That's right, folks. It is time for Hero of the Week, presented by Knock Hockey. Once again, Black Friday sale starting Wednesday, November 26th. 20% off all Knock Hockey boards. Go to knockhockey.com to get yours. Okay, let's talk heroes, Arthur. Let's start with you. What do you got?
I dipped into the old school bag. I'm going Casey Cizikas this week. We've certainly talked about him, not in a positive way over the course of this season. Question why his name was always
wanted to bench him
in the lineup. Yeah, we all felt like, I certainly felt like, and said it, maybe his spot shouldn't be assured now that he's not killing penalties on the regular, now that it's not a crash and bang fourth line. But, man, he showed us. He showed me, getting out there, and like I mentioned it, getting out there in Bo Horvat's spot to kill that important 4-minute power play in Dallas when they're up 2-1, causes some chaos on the entry, gets Kyle Palmieri going down the other way for a shorthanded goal. I think that might have been the first couple of minutes he has killed a penalty all year, which is crazy for a guy who's probably had more PK minutes, maybe even than even strength minutes at times over his career.
Right.
And then he follows it up with a 3-point game in Detroit. playing on a line with two really skilled young guys in Shabanov and Cal Ritchie. If he's going to keep his place in the lineup, I don't think we're going to see 3-point games from him all the time.
Probably not.
But I think he's understanding his role and to be able to adapt at his age after the way he's played for 900-plus games. Kudos to you, Casey. You're my hero this week.
There you go. Great choice, Arthur. And I am going to go with one of his line mates. That's right, Maxim Shabanov. You know, I'm kind of going with the same method that I went with Sorokin earlier in the season, where I was like, you know what, he had himself.
Russian guys? No, sorry.
Also that, yes, as well. but Sorokin had himself that good game against the Caps, and I was like, he's my hero. Let's see if that sticks. So let's see if we get a little hero magic here with Shabanov. Has that great game. What does he have? The 2 goals and an assist versus Detroit, +4. You talked about the beauty goal, the 5-0 goal there where he splits the D. Incredible goal, and he's certainly showing his skill on this team. Hopefully he continues to shine. I guess the question is, if he keeps this up, is Patrick Waugh, and we've seen some tinkering already, but is he going to make his way up the lineup?
I go back again to what Thomas said that is really illuminating, that the freedom that everybody's playing with, that you get confidence no matter where you're playing in this lineup. You know, if Max Shabanov is on this team in previous years, and it's not a knock against anybody who was running the team or coaching the team before, but if he's on that fourth line, he is expected to do fourth line things. Yeah. Now I think he's in the lineup, and Patrick Waugh is telling him, go be you.
Yeah.
Play the way that you play, because that will help us, and it certainly did. So I don't know that he needs to. I mean, minutes-wise, I'm sure he would love to be up on the top 2 lines.
Sure.
But if you're going to keep producing in the 11, 12 minutes, you'll get that extra minute over the third line or over the second line in a key moment. So I think everybody having the freedom to commit to offense, to be aggressive, means that whatever spot you're in, you can produce and have a game like he had.
There you have it. So essentially the fourth line, and an honorable mention to Cal Ritchie for getting some
sure,
points
yeah,
there, right?
Don't want to leave him out.
The whole line. So there you go. Casey Cizikas, Max Shabanov are your heroes of the week. That will do it for Hero of the Week, presented by Knock Hockey. Once again, Black Friday sale, Wednesday the 26th through December 1st, 20% off all Knock Hockey boards at knockhockey.com. And now, since he's here hanging out with us, we're going to take it to the Snake Den. Let's go.
Welcome to the Snake Den with Jake the Snake Redonis.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to dip, duck, and dive into the Snake Den with Jake the Snake Redonis. Jake, how you doing, pal?
I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here. Today's my mom's birthday, so happy birthday, Ma.
Happy birthday.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's exciting.
All's well.
Did you get her a nice gift?
I did, but she didn't get it yet, so I can't say.
nobody say
Don't give
anything.
it up. All right, we
won't.
know she's watching.
Yes.
All right, buddy, what do you got for us?
So I thought we'd keep it in the system today. There's been a lot of stuff happening in the system.
Yeah.
We just reached the quarter point in Bridgeport, and they've won 6 games this year, which they only won 15 last year.
Wow.
So at the quarter mark, that's
Goodness.
pretty good.
It's huge.
So they're 6-9-1. They're 6th in their Atlantic Division. They're not at the bottom, which is cool.
That's great.
Matthew Maggio's leading the team in points, 13 in 17 games. He has 11 assists.
Okay.
Also a team lead. Joey Larson, who's 24 years old, has 8 goals in 17 games to lead the charge there.
Okay.
Chris Terry just played his 900th AHL game.
That's
How
wild.
about
So
that?
kudos to him. That's a lot of games.
Sure is.
He is also the all-time points leader in Bridgeport. He has 212 points in 212 games. So shout out
I like the symmetry there.
Yeah.
I do too. So that's what's going on in Bridgeport. Then we go to NCAA here. For Boston University, we had Cole Eiserman just came back from injury.
Right.
He's only played 3 games. He hasn't found himself on the score sheet in any of those games. I've seen speculation online that people think he might not be 100%. I haven't watched the game, so I don't know. I'm sure he'll be okay.
Appreciate your honesty, Jake.
And then Camille Bednarik, who also plays for BU, has actually just hit the injured list as well. So he was having a decent year with 2 goals, 4 assists, and that was in 13 games. And then we go to Wisconsin, which is, with Quinn Finley.
It's a state in the United States.
Yeah.
You got the team right.
Yeah. Quinn Finley, he's having a good year. 5 goals, 6 assists. That's 11 points in 14 games. Then over to Notre Dame, not Brock Nelson, Danny Nelson. He's got 4 goals, 3 assists in 7 games. He's also 54% from the face-off dot, so it's cool to see someone who's going to be probably
Arthur
playing.
doesn't care about that.
I know. That's actually why I added this
That's
here.
never gonna beat these allegations
Nope,
about
never.
face-offs.
But it's good to see someone who's probably going to be up playing for the Islanders in the next few years, who's also good in the face-off dot, whether Arthur likes that or not. But
Love it. Nice.
Then we let's go over to Daniil Prokhorov, who's playing over in Russia. He's having a good year.
Okay.
He just went to a different junior league where he's got 5 points in 5 games. He's a power forward. He brings a physicality to his game too. He's got a great shot. He's fast too, and he's 6'6" and he moves like a moose, kind of like Nate McKinnon. Not as fast though.
Wow,
But,
that is
that's
a
tough
comp
to do.
that I have not heard.
No, and then keep it up with the physicality. We'll go over to Kashawn Aitchison, who has 16 goals.
Amazing.
Unreal.
In 22 games, 16 goals, 9 on the power play.
Love to hear it.
4 game-winning goals too. So I mean, he's really leading the charge for Barry over there. Another guy who has physicality. We talk about it whenever we talk about his name. You talk about these hits where he's open ice. He'll stand up for his teammates. Something that the Islanders I think have been doing a lot more this year too, which is anytime one of the young guys goes down or someone runs the goal, you see a lot more people involved this year.
Definitely.
Also, I've seen Matt Barzell getting involved a lot more than I have in the past too. But it's cool to see Prokhorov and Aitchison, 2 big-framed guys who could play offense, but they're also going to stand up for their teammates, and they'll be playing probably for the Islanders in the next few years too. Also, goalie Dmitry Gamzin, I believe is his name. He's over in Russia. He is the second. He's second in the KHL in goals against average, 1.96. So that's a name to keep in mind. But that's what's going around in the system.
A lot of positive news, and I'm pretty sure a few weeks ago we were answering a question during Questions Brewing about Prokhorov getting off to a slow start. So nice to see he's doing well now.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything I've seen online about this guy, it looks like a guy that you want to have on your team.
And he had a ball at the scrimmage. I remember that.
Yes.
And he was having a great time.
He's another one with a lot of personality. He'll be a fun interview for sure.
So it's nice to hear that, we go through the system here and we're hearing good numbers. We're hearing positive vibes there. So look at this, the Islanders farm team. Things are happening.
Yeah.
And the prospect pool, I should say.
And I do want to add in, too, the interesting thing about the guys in the NCAA. Notre Dame not having a good year. BU having a surprisingly disappointing start to their year, even though I think they're still ranked. I think they're 5-7 so far this year. Obviously, Yzerman's injury has something to do with that.
Sure.
Wisconsin's not a top-tier team. And this is not great for those 4 guys. But when you get to the end of the NCAA season, which kind of coincides with the end of the NHL season, you want to see some of those guys get up to the pro level and play some AHL games, maybe even hang out if the Islanders have a decent playoff run. And I don't think any of these 3 teams is going to go very far if you can sort of project out now, which, if you're an Islander fan, is actually a good thing because you want these guys to be here sooner rather than later.
Yeah,
so Danny Nelson, this is quite certainly his last year of college. Quinn Finley, same. Cole Yzerman, I'm sure there's some debate. I think he's probably ready to make the jump to the pros after his college season is over. So you'd love to see these 3 more young guys get in the system, play some Bridgeport games if they can, be at practice with the big club in the playoffs. It's kind of counterintuitive to say, boy, I want these guys to lose, but
Right.
I hope they have good years. I hope they don't succeed and get to the Frozen Four, and they can be NHL players sooner rather than later.
No doubt. Well, Jake, great stuff for in the system there. Had a lot of fun in the Snake Den. Way to go, pal.
Thank you. We also have the trivia question.
Oh, can't forget that.
please,
Yeah,
yes.
Arthur already knows.
I got this right
He did
before
get
we
it
even
right.
started.
I don't know.
So I'll ask
First
you-
time
You
ever.
probably Googled it.
I'll ask you, Sean. Which Islander led the NHL in shorthanded goals in 2001 to 2002? Was it Sean Bates, Claude Lapointe, Jason Blake, or Dave Scatchard?
Sean Bates.
You got it. Sean gets it
Without
right.
Look at this.
hesitation.
Not even
Hesitation.
hesitated for a
Great
long
work.
time, so not even that good.
Yeah, I actually remember that. That was a fun year.
That's a true fan right there.
Sure, why not? But that line, Bates, Parrish, and Pekka that year was just unbelievable, that second line. So that was a lot of fun to watch. But yeah, Sean Bates, old hero. Old
job.
hero there. Yes, thank you very much. All right, that will do it for the Snake Den. Now I'm going to tell you about Isles Fix. That's right, Islanders Country. Get your daily fix of Isles news, highlights, and analysis by subscribing to Isles Fix, the Monday through Friday Islanders newsletter sent directly to your inbox. Sign up for free or become a paid subscriber for added benefits at ilesfix.substack.com. And now it's time for Questions Brewing.
It's time for Questions Brewing. So go ahead, ask us a question.
Edzo, you've been so nice, quiet, and polite over there running the board. How you doing, buddy?
Am I still quiet?
Not anymore.
I
You're
sound
here.
quiet.
You made it. You made it.
Why is the snake tent going?
I don't know, dude. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. We'll have Jay edit it out. in
Yeah,
post.
sure.
All right,
Yeah.
buddy. What's
He
going
showed
on in the
up.
chat?
Jay's here. We have a few chatters,
Okay, we
but
like
more
that.
importantly, we have Thomas Boyle in the house.
In the
all
house.
right.
What's up,
So,
T-Boyle?
Tom, it'd
We
be
love
weird
it.
if I didn't start with you.
What do you got for us?
Well, I thought he'd ask it live.
You got a
You said
question
you
for
had-
us,
Shout,
pal?
just
You
shout
said
it
you had
out.
like
What do we
three.
got?
Do we think Siplikov
Waivers.
will be going on waivers? Arthur, I'm going to let you take that one.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
You need extra forwards here. I don't, I know Matthew Maggio's having a good start. Joey Larson, who's kind of an intriguing guy that not a lot of people know about, off to a good start in Bridgeport. You got to have some extra guys. And Kyle McLean, he's there to fill a role as an extra forward. Siplikov is a guy who's going to be in the lineup, I think, if there's an injury. So no, I think that would, not only is it not great to do to him, because I don't think he's done anything wrong really to be out of the lineup, but it kind of has a chilling effect if you have a guy who comes over as a free agent and signs with you in his second year. Suddenly you're like, all right, we're done with this guy. You don't want to send that message to the international hockey community, so I think he's going to stick around.
All right, Tom, you said you had one more. Who else do you want to get rid of?
Ooh.
If the Islanders
Big
are in
game
good
hunting.
position at the trade deadline, do we see them going big game hunting? I'll start here and say I do not think that they will, because I think Matthew Darche has an overall plan to kind of keep the assets where they are. I think anything that happens this season is gravy, unless they really just go on a tear and you have to reward them, right, with something. But big game hunting, I'm not so sure.
Yeah, I know, Tom, you mentioned Tage Thompson, who's essentially a local kid because his dad was coaching when he was kind of in his formative years as a teenager. I'd love to have Tage Thompson on my team. I don't think the cost would be worth it for the Islanders, though. And if you're talking about the names that have been thrown out there already, like a Philip Forsberg, let's say, in Nashville, or Ryan O'Reilly, teams that are starting to be out of it, I just don't know if there's a fit. Nazem Kadri is another one, even though the Flames don't seem like they want to get rid of him. I don't know that Matthew Darche is ready to take this thing to another level. I mean, obviously, if ownership says, yeah, we're going for it, that's your boss. You say, okay, we're going to go for it. And they do have the assets to make a deal like that, and they have the cap space and all that other stuff. But I agree with Sean. I think they're still evaluating. I think whatever happens this year, they're excited about. They certainly want to get in the playoffs and get some home playoff games more than a round that they've gotten in UBS Arena. But I think you still have to be smart and have a plan. That's what Matthew Darche sold himself on to get this job. I don't think you blow it up because you're suddenly at the head of a very mediocre pack in the East.
There you have it. All right, Ed, take it away. What do you got in the chat, buddy?
DTMR wants to know if Tony DeAngelo is working his way to being replaced.
By whom?
That's the question. isn't
Ed,
it?
I'm asking you specifically.
by I guess the organization.
Sure, that's a safe one.
Whoa.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, listen, Boquist is getting time now because Romanov is out, but like, who's coming in for him?
And I
don't know.
actually
On
like
the right side.
I like Tony's game since they moved him to the side with Pelech, and that
Yeah.
obviously has a lot to do with Adam Pelech, who I think is, even though the chance numbers have been crazy, I think his numbers individually have been quite good, and kind of back to being that Adam Pelech that grew into such an invaluable piece back a decade ago. And it's good that you can have that guy to move around and kind of stabilize things. Obviously, Romanov being out, even though he'd been playing pretty poorly, is a huge blow. And I don't know if Adam Boquist is the guy long term. I'm sure Marshall Warren will get a look. I'm sure Isaiah George might get a look if it's as long term as we're hearing that it's going to be. I think you need DeAngelo now because of Romanov being out. You need NHL guys, and there's no trades being made right now. Everybody's still in it outside of maybe a team or two. Like Calgary's the only one out of it.
Yeah.
And Don Maloney has given interviews saying like, yeah, we want to add guys. So who knows what's happening around the league. You can't rely on trades to, just say like, okay, there's 4 teams out of it. We'll just go pick one guy off their roster. But I think for the Islanders, you're going to have a rotation to kind of fill that Romanov spot, and I don't think Tony D is. We were talking about him maybe losing his regular spot when him and Romanov were not really playing that well, but I think things are different now with the injury.
Agreed. Ed.
Next up from Magician Matt, he says, can we finally attribute Sorokin's performance to the fact that Pierre Greco was not a good goalie coach and that he's more comfortable with his KHL coach?
It's a great question. I don't know. Is it a little bit like, is it more coincidence or is it the change? A little bit of both? I mean, because is that going to have a huge dramatic effect?
I think goalie coaches, it's such a vague area. It's almost as vague as the answer Ed just gave us about Tony DeAngelo.
The franchise.
He would have the franchise would have replaced him. It would have been their choice.
I think if Ilya Sorokin wanted to work with Sergei Namas before he was officially the Islanders goalie coach, he'd be able to do it. So I don't know that there's a situation where, okay, now that he's got the title and he's my guy, that suddenly, finally I got rid of this other guy.
Right.
I think it's incumbent upon goalies to play well, no matter who is working with them, showing them video, leading their drills. And I think for Sorokin, it's kind of a get off the pot type moment. You gotta step to the fore here. He's had a couple years where he's been good but not great. To kind of follow up that great year he had 4 years ago. We need to see that guy again. I think he understands, and maybe the message is getting through that the high danger chance situation is not going to change that much this year. They are an up tempo team now, so that means you've got to rely on your goalie to make some saves. So maybe it's just being comfortable with the situation of, okay, I know how we're going to play. I know that I got to come up with, I got to stop 75 or 80% of these grade A's that I'm going to face, or we're not going to win. And maybe it's as simple as that.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, does it really matter? I mean, at the bottom line is he's playing like he was, right? Now we're seeing some success. So if you want to put it on the coaching change, great. Maybe it is.
This is a little bit like we talked about early on, where we say like, oh, the power play is bad, so the power play coach must we got to get rid of him.
Fire Gomez.
It's you got to be good, no matter who's telling you what to do. Whoever's showing you the whiteboard, like, just got to be better.
Absolutely. Ed, what
Next
do you got?
up from Jeremy, he's got a few.
Ooh, okay.
We'll start with the 4-minute power play to finish the game with St. Louis. Does having Lee and Palmieri out there suggest a strategy to defense as opposed to, say, Drouin and Ritchie with more skill?
I would say crashing the net.
Yeah, they scored the goal by crashing the net 6-on-5. I think they understand that they've got guys at the top, Barzal, Schaefer, Horvat, who can get pucks downhill, and then you want as much scrambling as possible. So simple as that.
There you go.
And the other one from Jeremy, he says, does this change in the system and treatment of Shabanov, as you say, sound promising for a guy like Yzerman coming up?
Sure. I mean, I don't think that Cole Yzerman at 20 years old is going to be a top 6 NHL player. I think he's going to have to, play some time in the AHL. He's got some aspects to his game that need work to be an NHL player. So, we'll see. And if he's on the fourth line when he does get up, you just got to make the most of it. So
you got to make the most of it.
Yeah.
Ed, what do you have?
Well, he's got the rest of the bulk of the questions.
All right, Jeremy.
So Jeremy
Keep
says,
'em rolling.
who are you most interested in seeing in the WJC? He says Aitchison, Eklund, Yzerman. Why is that the hardest one? Politan or some draft prospect for the 26th draft.
Sean, I know you're an inveterate World Juniors watcher. So.
Huge juniors guy. As soon as the show's over, we're going to find out where it is this year.
I think it's in Minnesota this year. Is it in the States?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. Jake
says
out.
it's in the States, so I'll go with him.
All right. I
you're
don't
gonna go,
listen.
right?
I'm booking the flight too. As soon as the show's over, booking the flights. I'll be full disclosure. I haven't even been looking towards it. I'm sure Arthur's going to have a better answer than me.
Probably not.
Okay, fair enough. Full disclosure. But listen, I just want to see them do well, right? Like, as far, regardless of who it is, you just want to see these guys perform. And if they can do it on the big stage like that in these high pressure games, I think that's just nothing but good for them and for the franchise as well. And if I had to pick a guy, I guess Yzerman, right? Because I'm still super curious of just how his game is going to translate to the NHL with the Islanders. And, you just cross your fingers that it will, and that he can become one of those snipers for this team, because they could certainly use him.
Yeah, I'd like to see Aitchison, have a good tournament. Canada really hasn't had good tournaments the last couple of years, despite all the talent that they usually have. And I think his game is just intriguing to me. He can pile up points against some inferior OHL teams, but this is best on best. I'm curious to see how he'll handle that situation, because that, like you said, it's the closest thing at the junior level you're going to get to pro hockey, because everybody's that good at the pro level. So, Aitchison's having a great year. I'd like to see him keep it going and just kind of, put another good check mark on the board for him for when he's an Islander down the road.
All right, Ed, is Jeremy still speaking in class today?
Jeremy always lays down the law with these questions. I mean,
Okay.
he's racking them up. He said, what's up with Ethan Bear this year? Is he injured? I haven't found any stats on him this year.
And I'd say yes, safe bet that he is injured. He'd be a good help. He's a right shot guy.
Yeah.
If Jeremy was interested in getting Tony D'Angelo off this team, having a healthy Ethan Bear would be a good way to go, but we haven't seen that yet.
Okay, Ed, any more?
I have a question based on some news.
Sure.
So,
what do you got, man?
it turns out Rantanen got 1 game suspension. So is that enough?
I mean, as long as he's in the lineup in March, when the Stars come to UBS.
Yes, we definitely want to see
and,
that.
and Patrick Waugh is waiting for him at the loading dock when the bus gets
Yeah,
in.
I guess so.
That's all we care about.
I guess that's true. And as long as he has a long good think about what he did during that one game, that he's not playing.
Yeah.
And Ed, you inspired me with the mustache, man. I had to follow
Yeah.
Mario and Luigi. We got
I know.
going on here.
I think we got to step up our game over here in
Super
this
Islander
table,
brothers.
Jake.
Yeah, fellas, very clean shaven over there. I don't know. No, I'll actually tell a short story. The reason why this happened is because I was trying to clean the beard up and I forgot to put the clip on. So it was the straight, straight clean razor. I was like, I gotta do something about that.
That would be a
That's
good
the problem.
style, just like plain spot right here, but just the rest of the beard still going.
That seems a bit aggressive. I'm in my 40s now, Arthur. I don't know if I can pull that off anymore. But yeah, so here we are, honoring my father with the mustache. I've never seen the man upper lip.
That's impressive.
In the 43 years of my life, never saw the man's upper lip. But here we go.
There you go.
Mario and Luigi. All right, so I guess that'll do it for Questions Brewing, which means that's going to do it for the show. At the ready with the music here. So first and foremost, I want to thank Bagel Boss here in Hewlett for having us here. Wonderful place, great food, and just a great time here. So thank you to everybody at Bagel Boss for hosting us. And of course, a huge thanks to Mr. Thomas Hickey from MSG Network. You're going to see him on the broadcast later. Huge thanks to him for spending some time with us. And of course, a big thanks to our wonderful sponsors, starting with Knock Hockey, less scrolling, more scoring. And one more time, folks, Black Friday sale coming up Wednesday, November 26th through December 1st, 20% off all Knock Hockey boards at knockhockey.com. Also, big thanks to Racer, Kniff, and Lonstein, attorneys at law, ready to fight for you. Nobody likes going to court, but if you have to, call 212-LAW-1500 for a free consultation. And Arthur Staple, where can we find you? I got to ask you every week.
I know.
New show, pal?
New show,
How's it
yeah.
going?
It's going great. Tri-State Hockey Podcast on Daily Faceoff. Me, Mike Rupp, Johnny Lazarus, talking about Isles, Rangers, and Devils. A lot of good Islander stuff to talk about lately. We got a voicemail line for that one. It's a nice compliment to what we do here. So,
Complimentary.
Twice a week over there. It's been fun to get it started. And also Stape NHL at Twitter, throwing some stats and knowledge up there.
There you have it. Jake the Snake Radonis, where can we find you? Oh, you got to unmute him, Ed.
Oh, there you go.
You can find me on X at Jake Radonis, R80ONIS.
Excellent. Love that. You can find myself on Twitter, Blue Sky, at Shawnee Hockey. You can follow the show on all social media platforms at Hockey Night NY. You can check the website at hockeynightny.com. Folks, if you haven't already, do us a favor, rate, review, and subscribe. Let us know how good or bad we're doing with the show. We love to hear it. So, for Edzo, for Jake the Snake Radonis, Mr. Arthur Staple, I've been Sean Cuthbert. We've been Hockey Night in New York. We will see you next time.